I'd like to thank Antonio for the invitation to be here this morning to share with you some thoughts regarding the role of the Atlantic Ocean and the importance of the collaborative platform in the transatlantic relationships. I will start saying that the Atlantic Ocean some years ago was reported by some analysts as an ocean without future. They predict the depth of the Atlantic Ocean. And as we have seen today, this prediction was wrong. And paraphrasing the American writer Mark Twain, the notice of the depth of the Atlantic Ocean was a bit exaggerated. The Atlantic Ocean plays a crucial role in terms of energy between the two sides of the Atlantic, is crucial for the trade in this huge basin, and 90% of the world trade takes place through the oceans, and the Atlantic Ocean is critical for that. But the key illustration of the role of the Atlantic Ocean was illustrated by the response of Europe and in the Americas to the crisis, to the energy crisis that was triggered by the invasion of Ukraine by Russia. Europe, the dependence on the Russian gas was around 40% in 2022. And with the invasion, of course, Europe has to search for other sources of supply. And this source of supply came from the United States through LNG, liquefied natural gas, and from Qatar. The imports from Europe from the United States in 2022 increased 52.5%, and from Qatar 180%. So this is a huge shift in the energy metrics of the European Union. In 1 year was able to reduce the dependence of the Russian gas from 40% to 8%, but this came at a cost. LNG is one of the fantastic discoveries of engineering, and the human mind is always operating miracles. Because to transport gas, we can transport by pipeline, as was made by Russia to Germany and to Europe, but the transportation of gas by pipeline is commercial viable till 4,000 kilometers. Beyond this range is not commercial viable. And what happened? The engineers discovered that lowering the temperature of the gas to minus 163 degrees Celsius, the gas is liquefied, and the volume that the gas occupies liquefied is 600 times lower than the volume that it occupies like a gas. And this is why it is stored in cryogenic vessels, and this is transforming the world landscape in terms of energy. And the Atlantic Basin is one of the key areas where this transatlantic relationship and the exports and imports is taking place. And my guess is that in the future, Brazil, Trinidad and Tobago, Mexico, the Guianas that are coming, will export more and more gas to Europe, and this is beneficial to Europe. The key point here, in Europe, the electricity market is what we call a marginalistic market. And a marginalist market means that the price of the electricity is determined by the last source of energy that is used to respond to the demand in a certain point. In Europe, in 2022, 65% of the time was gas the settler of the electricity price. And as the gas came from the United States, from Qatar, of course, was more expensive than the cheap Russian gas. This created a huge problem in Germany, and this is part of the deep problem that we have today in Germany. And I am with my conscience very, very calm, because in the beginning of this center, during 10 years, I was invited by the Portuguese deputies to the European Parliament to go to the European institutions and discuss the energy policy of Europe. And I came with a map showing the huge dependence of the East and Central countries in Europe from the Russian gas, 90%, 100% in certain cases, 60% in Germany. And I said, if the Russian president uses the energy as a political weapon, Europe will be in a very bad condition. And what was the objective? It was to develop the energy single market in Europe. Today we don't have a single energy market in Europe because the Iberian Peninsula is not connected to the rest of the European market. And our fight was to develop these connections. Unfortunately, they didn't listen, and today we have this very critical situation. My guess here is that Europe, the LNG that was used 20% from the gas in Europe before the invasion, today is more than 40-45%. So it's a key piece. And the long-term contracts with the United States and with the other nations across the Atlantic will be maybe the key to lower the price of gas and the price of electricity in Europe. Because, don't be mistaken, the price of electricity in Germany and these countries is 3 times more than the price in the United States. The price of gas is 4 times higher than the price in the United States. And this is the key reason for the competitiveness in Europe. What happened in Portugal? In the former government, we worked very, very hard with Spain in order to disconnect the price of electricity from the price of gas for the Iberian Peninsula. Our argument was very strong. You didn't pay attention in Europe. We kept the Iberian Peninsula as an isolated island in Europe, so let us decouple the price of the electricity from the price of gas. And in Portugal, as we had undertaken a very huge transformation of our energy metrics, is a case worldwide success, a very successful story, and I will tell you why. But what happened with the proportion of renewables? That today, for instance, in the 7 first months of this year, 80% of the electricity consumed in Portugal came from renewables. The transformation of the energy metrics in Portugal is a successful case and very studied worldwide. Why? Because we began this century, the year 2000, with 89% of our energy metrics relying on oil, gas, and coal. And today is less than 65. So we have a reduction of 24 percentage points in these 2 decades or more than 2 decades. And this is very significant. The last coal plant in Portugal was closed in 2021, and coal is the most pollutant of the fossil fuels. Contrary, the gas is the least pollutant of the fossil fuels, and this is why I defend strongly that we still need the role of gas. This is a good combination with the renewables. But the transformation of the energy metrics is crucial, because last year we used 24,300 megawatts to produce electricity. From these, 8,000 came from the hydroelectric energy, 5,800 from gas, the same amount, 5,800 from the eolic, the wind energy, and attention, solar is coming. As I said many years ago, solar will be a key source of energy this century. And the reason is simple. Each day we receive from the sun 8,000 times more energy than the energy used in the entire planet. And with the creativity and ingenuity of the human mind, we are witnessing the reduction of the prices of the solar panels and more use of solar. In Portugal, the success history of solar energy is also beautiful, because this year, 2024, we added around 1,200 megawatts to the 3,700 megawatts that we had in the last year. So pay attention to that. In Portugal, the electricity today is generated from hydroelectricity, from the eolic, the wind energy, from solar. We are developing as well all the cluster of the biofuels, with the biomethane, with the synthetic biofuels, and the biomass. And in 2024, till now, we had a strong reduction in the use of gas, 3/4 of reduction in the use of the gas to generate electricity. And this places Portugal as a very competitive country when we look to the Atlantic Basin. And this is the message I would like to underline here. Our country has a strategic location in the Atlantic Ocean. We are in the crossing on 3 continents. We are like a raft, a stone raft projected into the Atlantic Ocean. One of the Portuguese writers, José Saramago, wrote about the Jangada de Pedra. So this stone raft is working, and Portugal can use today the soft power that the country has with our friends in the other side of the Atlantic to develop close relationship to protect the Atlantic Ocean, to develop the trade, to develop the exchanges of energy, of trades, of goods, of services, of knowledge. And we are able to develop that using everything that we have in the country. On top of that, we have this strategic location. We are also one of the most secure countries in the world. We are always on the top rankings of the security. We are a country that has developed this energy renewable cluster very, very strong. This is the reason why we are attracting more and more companies that are looking to delocalization, like the French shoring or near-shoring, in countries where the energy is very competitive. And what happened with the work that we have done to decouple the price of the electricity from the price of gas, if you look in 2024, the price of electricity in Portugal is 26% lower than the price in Europe. This is why the country is in the radar of some of the most interesting companies, and we are attracting these projects to develop in the country the fabrication of the batteries, of electric vehicles, of electric cables, of all the generation of the green industries. For instance, the steel industry is one of the most pollutant in our planet, responsible for 8% of the CO2 emissions. And the steel industry is looking to the countries where a strong contribution of renewables, to use renewables in the transformation of the steel industry. In Portugal, when we designed the National Plan of Recovery and Resilience, we have a strong program for the decarbonization of the most pollutant industries that we have in the country. Cement, the steel, and also the petrochemical. And the advances that these industries are making in the electrifying all the production process is very significant. And this is something that we can also discuss with our friends on the other side of the Atlantic and develop this cross-fertilization regarding these issues. The other point that I would like to mention, we are changing the energy metrics, more and more renewables, developing also the biofuels. We have a national strategy for biomethane, for biomass. Biomass is very, very important for the future. We are transforming also the mobility. The transport system in Portugal is still responsible for 28% of the CO2 emissions, and we are not happy with that. So we are electrifying the fleets at the cities. Cities will be a key issue for the transformation of the energy metrics, because cities occupy 2% of the surface in the planet, but in cities live more than 60% of the world population. They consume 75% of the energy. They are responsible for 80% of the CO2 emissions. So what we are doing is transform the cities in intelligent systems, using artificial intelligence, using machine learning, using the digitalization, using data from sensors, from drones. Why? Because we can optimize all the functioning of the cities. We can improve strongly in terms of the energy efficiency. We can adopt the digitalization of this process, and we can place a huge role in terms of the future. The other issues that the country is exploring here, and they are very interesting also for our friends in the other side of the Atlantic. We have in Viana do Castelo, in the north of the country, the wind float project. So it's a pioneer project in the world. It was the first semi-submersible flutuant project in terms of the eolic offshore. We have in the country the program to develop 10 gigawatts of eolic offshore in the next years, and we need strongly energy. Not only for the eolic offshore, we have also a project in Póvoa do Varzim, in Aguçadora, for the wave energy. This project is very interesting because only the potential of the energy, wave energy, the tides, the amplitude of tides, connected with the changes in salinity and the deep currents in the ocean, only this slice of the energy equation can generate around between 20,000 to 80,000 terawatts hour. attention, 20,000 terawatt-hour is 4 times the world consumption of electricity. And as I said before, the ocean is a hidden factor of energy, and we are prepared as well to face this issue. A final word in terms of the situation of our planet. I am passionate about the history of our planet. We live in a fantastic planet, the planet of life. But don't be mistaken, our planet is more and more sick. In the year 2000, 8 years after the first conference in Rio that took place in 1992, the emissions, the world emissions of CO2 were 25 billion tons. What happened last year? 36 billion times. So it increased 44%. In spite of all the conferences, of all the pledges, of all the programs. And we need to do something. This is why I am pretty confident that the example of Portugal, we reduced in the last years around 40% of our emissions. And even if we look to the forests and to the soils and taking care of the soils, the country is also making a very significant trajectory. Between 2011 and 2021, we were able to reduce 40% of the use of pesticides in the soils that are very dangerous sometimes in terms of the quality of the soils. And saying that, we are witnessing today huge transformations in our planet. We are losing in a speed without parallel in the ice caps in the North and Southern Pole. And don't be mistaken, the ice is a stabilizer of the climate system of the Earth. Because if the ice disappears, the ice reflects a lot of the solar energy that comes to our planet. If it disappears, the warming of the ocean is irreversible. And we are witness today in the 3 meters of the top layer of the oceans, the storage of it in a speed without parallel in history. We have around 1 million times the energy that was deflagrated with the atomic bombs in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and this is stored in the top layer of the ocean. And this energy, when it is released to the atmosphere by methods that the scientists cannot today identify and spot, and we have to study that, this caused the climatic events, the extreme climatic events that affect the life of the communities. So my last word here, because we are losing biodiversity, we are living in the 6th major mass extinctions of species in our planet. The 5 extinctions of species that occurred before occurred when the human species was not in this planet. We are in this planet in the last 200,000 times. In the planet, a fantastic planet with 4.5 billion years of history. So we are just a tiny fraction. But today we are responsible for the loss of biodiversity. In the last 3 decades, we are losing the amphibian species. We lost already 1/3 of reef corals. We lost already 1/3 of sharks and rays, 1/3 of freshwater mollusks, 1/4 of mammals, 1/5 of reptiles, 1/6 of birds. Don't be mistaken. The loss of biodiversity means that the virus, the pathogenic virus that live in these systems will come to us, to the human species, if we don't pay attention. And the COVID-19 was a big warning to us. So finally, to attack this issue, to fight the climatic threat, we need to build a community in the Atlantic Ocean and share also in terms of research. And research is crucial here. 4 years ago, the Prime Minister invited me to prepare a vision for the economy in the country, and it was the basis for the National Plan of Recovery and Resilience. I suggest the creation of a University of the Atlantic. Not only a creation of a new university, but pulling together all the competence and capacities that we have in the country, together with other friends in Americas, in Africa, in the North America, to understand the ocean. And Portugal today is part of the Argo project. It's an international project that places sensors in the oceans, and these sensors come and go till 2,000 meters of depth, and they give you all the information that we need: pressure, temperature, volume of plastics, volume of biological resources. And with this data, we aim to build a twin digital of the ocean, to understand how the ocean works and how we can defend the ocean at the same time use in a more sustainable way the resources of the ocean. And I am pretty sure that the solution for the climatic threat that we are facing will come from Mother Nature. Nature is perfect when it is working. Nature operates with free energy of the sun, interacts with the whole geochemical with the whole Earth system, and attention, Mother Nature produces ecosystems that are productive, efficient, and regenerative. There is not the notion of garbage in nature. The garbage of some are the humus and feedstock of the others. And this circularity is crucial. If we look to the history of our planet, and I will finish with this example, I gave this example to the Prince of Monaco in one of my last duties as Minister of the Economy and the Sea, just pledging the international community and the European community to develop research projects and look to what we have in the ocean. In Portugal, we are very rich on what we call the seagrass meadows. These are fields of algae, microalgae. And what happened? 50 million years ago, there was in the planet what we call the azole effect. Azole is an aquatic plant, and 50 million years ago, the temperature in our planet was very, very high, much higher than today. The concentration of CO2 in the atmosphere was 6,600 ppm, part per million. Today is 440, and we see all the problems around. And what happened? This aquatic plant disseminated, find conditions to grow in the North Pole, and it was able to capture CO2 in a velocity without parallel in the history. So the concentration of CO2 came from 6,600 to 600 in a few years. And we need today our Azolla in order to counteract regarding the climatic threat. So science, knowledge, research is very, very important to develop our relationship. Thank you very much.